Okay, so I just woke up from a dream that was about the Amazing Digital Circus, and it was so freakily realistic that it literally tricked me for a few minutes into thinking that there was an actual new episode. Like I came out of the dream still kind of half asleep, just going, that was a good episode of the Amazing Digital Circus. I'm so happy that they updated the series so quick, and it took me a few seconds to realize that it wasn't actually real. There was so much detail to it and so much structure that it's interesting enough that I want to tell you guys about it now. So, I'm just gonna get into it. So, it was, it had the same structure as most episodes where, Caine is making a new game for them to do. So the game that they had was that they were in a huge open ocean, no land in sight, and they were on, 3 different boats in sets of 2. They were more like life rafts than anything. They weren't that big. And, they're basically just separated into 3 different groups. We had Ragatha and, Kinger. We had Pomni and Zubul, and then we had Jax and Gangle. So the goal of the game was that they were racing against each other, and whoever got... Okay, so this is the part that doesn't make as much sense, but their goal was that they were supposed to race against each other to see who could make the perfect sandwich first. They had to collect the materials. And so the place that they were supposed to get the materials from was down inside the ocean. There was supposed to be this underwater city and stuff, and they were supposed to explore it and find the perfect ingredients for a sandwich. And so, the problem was, it was introduced very early on into this dream episode that Pomni has thalassophobia, which is the fear of deep ocean water, open water and stuff, and she was freaking out about it. And that's the whole reason why Zubul agreed to come along, because Zubul was like, okay, fine, I'll help you out over here, and because you need some help and there's uneven amounts of teams. So whenever the game actually starts, obviously Ragatha and Kinger, they dive into the water, Jax and Gangle, they dive into the water, and they're separating and trying to get the sandwich or whatever, except Pomni is too scared to go into the water, and so Zubul gets so frustrated about it that she's just like, okay, you could stay up here on the boat, and then they got this rope, and so Zubul gave the rope to Pomni and was like, okay, I'm just gonna hold on to it, and to make us go faster, whenever I grab onto one of the ingredients of the sandwich, I'm gonna tug the rope twice, and then you're gonna pull me up so then you can get this sandwich faster. So that was the plan. So Zubul dove underwater with the rope, and Pomni stayed above. And there was a small scene where Caine was trying to encourage Pomni to go into the water, because, he was like, dude, I spent all this time making this awesome kingdom and stuff underwater, and you're not even going to get to see it. And she was absolutely refusing. No, I am not going under the water. I can't. She was, almost hyperventilating because of being in the open ocean. She was terrified that Caine was gonna pull something. So, progress of the others. Ragatha and Kinger were the first ones they were the most successful. There wasn't as much content on them, but they were probably the ones that won. The part that made it seem like an actual episode, though, was Jax and Gangle, because, sorry, I adjusted the music stand, this is on. Jax and Gangle, they totally failed because their boat fell apart for some reason, and they were both treading water, and there was a storm coming, and they were both, almost drowning, and, Gangle was in trouble because her ribbons were not good at treading water. She was struggling in the water trying to keep her head up, and she was calling out to Jax, being like, help! And oh my gosh, this asshole. Jax saw in the distance there was a cruise ship or something, this really big ship, and instead of saving Gangle and helping her out, he swam away. He swam towards the cruise ship, and there was dramatic music going on. It was structured again like an actual episode that I was watching, and I was like, oh no, because he was being a jerk, and he abandoned Gangle in the wreckage of the ship. The thing though is that once Jax got to the cruise ship and got pulled up onto board, he was trying to convince the captain to turn around and go get Gangle, and like it was, you know, revealed that, oh no, maybe it wasn't so selfish that he was going to get the cruise ship, but for some reason the captain wasn't listening to him, so Jax was So Jax was like, okay, am I gonna stay dry on this cruise ship, or am I gonna jump back into the stormy water to save Gangle? So he decided to go back and save Gangle. So they got rescued by Kinger because they forfeited, basically, but Gangle was still mad at Jax for abandoning her. Anyway, so status now. Ragatha and Kinger won. They got the sandwich, and Pomni and Zubul are still, like, Zubul hasn't come up yet, and Pomni is getting worried. She's still, like, worrying about stuff, and she's being told, okay, the others have already, like, won or forfeited, and so what are we gonna do? And then Kinger says, no, not Kinger, I keep on messing up their name because it both starts with a K, but Caine says, no, you just gotta wait for the big finale. She's like, what big finale? And then she feels the tug on the rope, and she's like, oh my gosh, finally. So she starts pulling up the thing, and she's pulling it up, and then she finally gets the end of the rope up, and Zubul isn't there! And she's terrified, and she's like, oh my god, where are they? And then out of nowhere, there's like this rumbling sound, and then out of nowhere, there's this ginormous serpent that jumps out of the water and like literally capsizes the boat, and Pomni falls off the boat. She doesn't know where Zubul is. She's running away swimming away, trying to swim away from this sea serpent now, and the sea serpent is chasing her. And I remember vividly, I was in the POV of Pomni at this point in the dream, and I was screaming as loud as I could. Like, it was continuous, constant screaming, and it was getting bad. Like, she was hyperventilating and nearly freaking flopping around, almost drowning. And Caine was watching, and he was starting to feel kind of guilty because of how terrified she was. Pomni was having a full-blown panic attack, barely keeping out of the serpent's jaws, and just as she was about to get eaten by the serpent, Caine snaps his fingers and the entire thing disappears. They're just in a white void at this point. Not the void, just in a white void. Everything stops and the ocean goes away. And Pomni is still hyperventilating, but Caine actually, this was actually a surprisingly sweet moment that again made it feel like an actual episode. Caine, like, took a moment to, like, calm her down, and there was a noticeable change inside of his voice. You know how most of the time his inflection is like this, you know? Instead, he was, like, just lowering back to a more genuine feeling. He's like, hey, it's okay, none of that was even real, I just made it up, it was a part of the game, it's fine. And he was trying to calm her down. And so eventually, once she calmed down, Caine was like, okay, do you want to go back to the circus? And she's like, yeah, I want to go back. So Caine just lets her quit the game. She doesn't want to play anymore. It wasn't fun. He feels really bad that he legitimately scared her. So Zubul was fine, obviously. Zubul, like, quote-unquote, died in the game, but that's pretty much just, like, you know how you die in Minecraft or whatever game you're playing, and then you just exit the game. It's basically like that. Zubul lost, so they got teleported back to the circus. So Zubul is fine back in the circus. Pomni is not very fine. Pomni is still very shaken up because of all of this thalassophobia stuff, and the last scene was Ragatha walking over and being like, are you okay? We could hear you screaming that whole time. So anyway, that was pretty much it, and I woke up and thought that it was a real episode, and then realized slowly, wait, no, my brain invented that entire thing. So yeah, that was the story. Sorry if it was a little bit underwhelming, but it was just funny enough to me because, first of all, Jax doing a completely in-character thing and abandoning Gangle for a cruise ship, and then Pomni having thalassophobia and being so scared of this cartoonish-looking sea serpent that Caine basically breaks the rules and stops the game. He's like, okay, I'm sorry. And that legitimate, like, heart-to-heart moment where he's trying to calm her down from her panic attack, like, it was really, really bizarre. It felt like an actual episode, so anyway, that's kind of all I have to say. I got so anyway, my subconscious is apparently more creative than I am, because that was incredibly entertaining. So yeah, I just wanted to share this with you in case if you guys get some enjoyment out of it. Anyway, bye. Thank you for watching, I guess.